Hey, what's going on guys? NKC here, and today's video will be a tutorial to show you how I tend to edit my portraits. I'm just going to show you what decisions I make and what kind of things I normally do in Lightroom whenever I sit down to go through portrait shots and how I come up with my finished look and feel. The photo we will be editing today is this one right here. It's from a shoot I did a few days ago. It was done in a record store and it was a ton of fun, and I wanted it to have a vintage or retro kind of feel, and in today's edit that's what I'm going to try and bring forth. So without further ado, we can go ahead and get into this tutorial. We're going to start in lens correction, and we can check both of these boxes right here, and we can go back up to our white balance, and I'm going to drop this, not a whole lot but just a little bit. Sorry, my phone just went off. I can just silence that. And then for the contrast, since I want it to be kind of retro, vintage, feel a little bit film-like, I'm going to take that down a little bit, like over a quarter of a stop, and same thing with the contrast, somewhere around like -10. For my highlights, that can be dropped too. Somewhere around like -20. Actually, we'll just stick with -18 now I had before. And then shadows can be brought up, not a whole lot, maybe somewhere around like +10. And same thing with the whites, except those are going to be brought up about a third of the way. So around like 30, maybe like 33. And then blacks can go down to about -15. Okay, after that we can head over to tone curve and, add our points to the shadows, midtones, and highlights. And we're going to take our blacks anchor point and we can raise that about there. And then for the shadows, we're going to drag it to the right and drag it up. And then we're going to do the exact same thing with the midtones. And then the highlights, we can increase maybe around there. Actually, I'm going to take the midtones point and bring it down a little bit. And then we can take the whites point and drop that. And then I want to go to the green channel and add the same anchor point. And there, I'll just drag this back on the line. I'm going to take the greens and bring those up just a little bit. And about there, and then add another point to just drag that back down. And then we can head to the red channel, add the same points in here. And then we're actually going to add a point in here and bring that down just to add a little bit of like teal in the shadows, and just to show you a little before and after with the tone curve. That's what we've done so far. And I haven't said this yet, but I haven't like wrote any like numbers down or anything. This is all kind of from like the top of the dome, like from scratch or whatever whatever phrase you want to go with. But I'm trying to go as quick as possible for like time's sake for this video. For the red hue, I want to increase it a little bit to give some of the reds in the skin tone a little bit of like orange tan flesh. And then same thing with the actual orange slider. We're just going to bring up just a little bit, maybe 3, 2 is cool. Other colors, honestly, other colors I'm not really worried about. I'm probably just going to focus on the red and the orange since this is such a personal portrait right here. It's not really even a torso shot where our main focus is the face, and everything else in the background's pretty blurred out. It's all bokeh for the most part. So I'm just going to focus on red and orange. And then for the saturation for the red slider, I'm going to bring up to about 15, and then for the orange we'll bring up 5. Alright, let's look at 6. Actually no, let's just bring it down to 4. I don't want to go too crazy with the orange because that's a lot of what her skin tone is. Again, like I don't want to go too drastic with anything, so we can just leave that at 4. So the orange is going to be a lot of subtle changes, and I normally tend to do that with my portraits since most skin tones like are based upon a like orange like hue and color. For luminance, we can bring that up a pretty good amount for the red slider, somewhere around like 37, 36. And then same thing for the orange slider, somewhere around like 25 maybe. That's cool. And actually I want to head down to camera calibration, and there's a little bit of a greenish tint in her skin tone. I don't know if you guys can really pick up on it that well, but I'm looking in certain parts and there's a little bit of green. So what I want to do is actually take the green primary for the hue and bring that up. Not like a whole lot, but maybe just somewhere around like 20, and then same thing in the saturation. And just to do a little before and after, it's affecting all of the greens in the image, but I'm mainly focusing on her skin tones and her face. So this is on, this is off, and that's back on. So it's adding a little bit of orange and red to add a little bit more like natural fleshy skin tones that the actual camera can't pick up the way that our eyes can. And then we can actually next head to split toning. And for the highlights, I want the hue to be somewhere in the greenish, like green yellow region. And you can look at the number down here. This is for your hue amount, like your hue level, degree, whatever you want to call it. And then this is your saturation amount. And for the saturation, I'm going to bring it down, not a whole lot, maybe just a little, somewhere around like 16, 15. Let me just do it before and after. Yeah, that feels cool to me. That's adding a little bit of like a yellowish green tint to it to give like even more like, I don't know, it feels retro to me. That's just like, all of this is my personal opinion. So please don't like flip out if you're a older gentleman or woman who has been shooting for 15 years with a large format like film camera or something and knows about real film, like retro quality. So please go easy on me. But for the saturation for our shadows, I want it somewhere in like a teal blue region, and I don't want it that strong. Honestly, like no more than 2 or 3. Yeah. So this is before, and like I said, um, in adding some of these like yellowish green tones in the split toning, it's adding some warmth to the entire image. And just to do a little quick before and after, this is where we started, raw, nothing's been done, and this is where we're at now. And then next, a lot of what I'm doing in a lot of my edits as of recently is adding green almost no matter like what kind of shoot it is, whether I want it to feel vintage or retro, or whether I want it to feel very modern, like fashion editorial. But for this image, I'm gonna like go pretty like pretty generous on the grain amount, and I always tend to try to go high on the amount and very small on the size, so that way it's not too overbearing or like too much, too extra. Um, and then for the roughness, we'll just take it down a little bit to about 45. And just we can go like we can zoom in to see what difference it makes. So this is with the grain on, and that's with the grain off. So it does play a pretty significant amount. We can zoom back out, and then I want to add like a very subtle like sun flare or just some light in this image. So I'm gonna go to our like local adjustments, and I'm just gonna set it to temp, but I'm gonna change it anyways. We're actually going to make it a little bit orange, so maybe like 5, not go crazy with it. And then here, I'll actually draw it out first and then show you. So I'm gonna drag this to about like this area over her face, and I'm gonna invert the mask so it's not on the outside. So it's very subtle. It's adding a little bit of warmth in her skin tones. And then next I'm going to do dehaze, except I'm going to add haze. So we're gonna go in the negatives, and I'm not gonna go like too much because it's actually really strong. So this is just at -3. And as you can see, especially if you check in the little thumbnail preview, which like I always like to refer to that because it kind of gives you a zoomed out preview of like what you're editing and where you're at. So this is with it on, and then that's with it off. And like I said, the dehaze is a very, very powerful tool. Even if we did something like -20, it gets pretty extreme. So we're just gonna leave it at about like -3 is cool with me. And then next, just do some iris enhancement just to make our eyes pop a little bit more. And the preset that Lightroom offers is actually pretty strong and like on point, if you ask me. So we can just paint over her eyes. As you can see, it's like boosting up some saturation, adding some highlights to the shadows, brightening those up, and we can go over to the other eye too and do just a little bit since it's not fully visible. And we can zoom back out. So this is pretty much what I do every time I go through portraits. Not always in that exact order, other than like the lens correction and then fixing some white balance stuff. Like I said, I've been playing more with camera calibration. It's very helpful to like bring out colors in ways that you normally wouldn't have thought about, and just to like really experiment. Go extreme. Definitely like find out like what the red primary controls, green primary controls, and blue primary controls, because like photography like is in like the general sense, it's all about a balancing act. So in changing the green primary, you're going to change other colors. But this is my walkthrough process. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Definitely like leave suggestions of videos that you might want to see in the future, things I should do, things I shouldn't do, and just give me feedback. Any kind of feedback I'd appreciate. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.